Welcome to the Writer's Block. Today we are here with Professor Verine Shepherd of the University of the West Indies and the writer extraordinaire. Verine, can I call you Verine?
Of course.
How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Good. Welcome to the Writer's Block.
Thank you.
Professor of Social History. What is a professor of social history?
You know, we talk about social history in contrast to, say, political history or economic history. We know that there's no unambiguous distinction or, line of demarcation. But social history just signals that we are interested in the history of traditionally marginalized groups: women, non-sugar producers, enslaved people, ethnic minorities. So social history allows us to explore themes that were unexplored by, say, political historians.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So if I said you were a professor of history, I'd be wrong?
No, I'm a professor of history, but we like to call ourselves professor of political history or economic history or social history. It's just, something we do.
Do you enjoy being a professor of history?
Absolutely.
Yes?
Yes.
How does one become a professor of history?
Well, first of all, you get training as a historian, which means we have to go to the PhD level in history. After that, you find a job in a university. I was very fortunate to have been employed by the University of the West Indies after I finished my PhD at the University of Cambridge.
Oh, I see.
So I was happy to come back home, and I have been at UWI since 1988. And I love what I do.
Okay.
Of course, you are employed first as an assistant lecturer, and then you move up the ranks.
I see.
If you keep writing, publishing, and teaching and so on.
But I mean, nowadays,
You become a professor
of history.
Of history.
So it is you study. I mean, the natural route is that you do your first degree in anything, and then
Sometimes a second degree and a third degree. I did 3 degrees in history, and as I said, you get a job in an academic setting.
Okay.
The university usually.
Fine.
You write, you teach, you publish, and based on your CV, you can apply for promotion to the rank of professor. So that happened to me.
All right, turn me on to history. I mean, I'm a child. I'm nowadays asking,
listen,
what do you want to be?
Listen,
no.
My name is Shepherd, but I'm not a history missionary.
The reason I'm asking this is that when you talk to young people nowadays, I say, what do you want to be? I want to be a psychologist, I want to be this. Nobody wants to be a professor of history.
Actually, some people do.
Yes.
More and more of our students actually say, I want to specialize in history. I want to go further on in history.
Okay.
Tell me where I can apply, whether at UWI or some other university. So I find an increasing number of students actually want to be professors of history.
It's a very sexy profession. You do a lot of traveling, and what is the exciting part of history?
If you have put in the work,
yes.
If you have written, if you have made international contacts, and sometimes international contacts come out of your work because of your work. So people get to know about you because of what you have written, what you have published.
Okay.
And so you begin to get invited to, speak at different universities.
Yes.
You give public lectures locally as well. You're used by the media. So as you become known, yes, you can live a very interesting life.
Good.
I think I live a very interesting life.
All right.
But I tell my students who want to become a history professor so they can go to Morocco and other, Egypt and so on.
Yes.
They have to put in the time.
Yes. All right, let's talk about this book, Livestock, Sugar and Slavery, Contested Trade in Colonial Jamaica. First of all, there's a heading here, Forgotten Histories of the Caribbean. Is this a series that you are putting out personally, or what?
No, this is being put out by Ian Randall Publishers. Ian Randall publishes most of my work.
Okay.
And the theme Forgotten Histories sends a signal. It's meant to indicate that this series wants to focus on, themes and topics in our history which have not been explored fully, if at all, previously, before that particular author decided to write a book on that particular topic.
You have written other books
Yes.
in this series?
No, this book started the series.
I see.
It was conceptualized by Professor Hilary Beckles, in fact, in association with Ian Randall Publishers. So this is the first one. I think there are two more. Another one is out, and you know there are more in the pipeline. So it's just to get unexplored themes out,
which is fine. I mean, you yourself or the publisher has sorted out, sort of structured an area of history or areas in our history that is forgotten and or unaccounted for. And
I think the publisher and the series editor have a general notion, but they're open to authors who come in with their manuscripts and they look at them and they say, you know, this would fit in the series. But I think there's also a lineup. I think Professor Beckles was working with his graduate students, looking at areas of Barbadian history which, you know, have not been explored and published. So I think, for example, Henderson Carter is going to have a book in this series dealing with aspects of resistance in Barbados that, you know, other people haven't looked at. So it's really looking at the areas of history which have not been published or, you know, been popular.
I find this interesting because of which it's stated. And I'm going to get to the book. But when you say the essence of it, why we first it's February, it's Black History Month.
Yes.
And Black History Month was, I suppose, you know, we created it based on the fact that there's an element of our history that is not presented.
Yes.
And is Black History Month, for instance, part of that? Or does that, or is it a good way to articulate that or to bring that forth?
Well, Black History Month really wasn't our idea in Jamaica. It started by Carter G. Woodson in the United States of America. But I think that there's a recognition that we also need more and more and more attention to the history of African descended people. History is not a compulsory, Caribbean history is not a compulsory subject at all levels of our educational system. So there's need, you know, and for the general public to learn history. So we have piggybacked on that concept and embrace it ourselves, and that's fine.
And that's what I want to ask is that all those questions about you know, history that are hidden or forgotten, does Black History Month really represent that?
I think Black History Month provides you know, an opportunity for us to highlight and showcase those aspects that have, you know, sometimes you get tired of the usual traditional way of marking Black History Month. I think that if historians can engage with the public, with the media, and bring unexplored topics forward, that will make Black History Month more interesting.
Just as long as it does not itself marginalize other histories, so that we then say that no, we are, you know, creating other histories, we're putting other histories in the background.
But I think there are more, Jamaica, I mean, it's 12 months, and there are other opportunities to showcase the history of other groups. For example, in May, you will find that there's a lot of attention on the Indian descended people in our country, because the 10th of May is Indian Arrival Day. You'll find that in January, Chinese New Year. So what I'm saying is that there are opportunities for focusing on the history of other groups. And we're talking about over 80% of the population anyway.
Is Black, yes.
It shouldn't be 1 month anyway. It should be consistently in all areas of our educational system.
It just brings that up once you start to talk about marginalized histories. And
Right, yes. Well, I work on the Indian indentureship system as well, because I find that was an area that was, you know, not focused on in Jamaican history.
All right, let us get back to your book. I don't want to stray too much because it is here and it is a powerful piece of writing. Livestock, sugar, and slavery. Why this topic now?
All right. First of all, when you are going to do your PhD or any research degree, you have to have a topic that has not been written about in terms of a full-length book or a full-length thesis. And so when I got the scholarship to go to Cambridge University, I spoke with some of my professors, Professor Barry Higman in particular, who has done so much on Jamaica's economic history. And he suggested that this might be an area I would like to explore, because even though he had done some work on it, it still needed further research. So I thank him for having suggested that.
Okay.
At the time, when I went to Cambridge, my supervisor said, you know, Verine, you're not going to find even one paragraph on this thing. You sure?
Yes.
And she had me going back, you know, looking at other previously written work to make sure nobody had actually done a full length,
Yes.
even though she didn't think I would find any. So this came out of the PhD thesis.
I see. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And it was, you know, I had to find a topic that nobody had written a full length work on before, and something that I found interesting. I find this interesting because it fits in with my passion to excavate, explore, disseminate data
Yes.
on groups that have not really, you know, received as much attention.
But you also present the work in a very specific way. You use contestation of terrain
Yes.
as a theme.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Yes.
How you work that? Why
Yes.
did you use that? Was that the way to do it?
And you know, the original thesis didn't take that approach. It was simply a straight narrative. You know, the pen keepers were these people and they did this and so on. Now, there wasn't a thesis. There was a thesis, meaning a central argument.
Yes.
But this wasn't it. But as you know, after you do a degree, you have time to reflect. I mean, the book could have come out before, but I wasn't ready. I didn't think I reflected sufficiently on it. I mean, you do a PhD in 3 years. I mean, you know, you need some time to reflect.
Yes.
So as I reflected, I said, you know, but as I read more and do more research on this group of people, these proprietors who were not sugar planters, and when I looked at their relationship with other sectors of the society, when I looked at their relationship with enslaved Africans, I thought, you know, and when I reflected on Jamaican society,
Yes.
even our contemporary society, I said, you know, maybe this is a framework within which I should locate this work. This context of contestation, of completely always trying to get, you know, to get the better of the other person,
Yes.
always trying to make your economic enterprise the best. And not only that, because there's absence of consensus in the society, not just today, but back then, you're going to have people competing. So this competition and this contestation over space, that is physical terrain, over social space, over political space.
Don't move. Hold on.
That's all history.
Hold on for it, because I want to come back to that sense of contestation, as if it perpetuates the whole society even now.
Absolutely.
It suggests to me that that is coming out in your book.
Yes.
We're going to take a break and we'll come back to the writer's block with Dr. Verine Shepherd. We're having a wonderful conversation so far.